without a permit.
Got it.
Even though 8 months in advance, we were warning you in the very presentation that that Joe points out, we gave him on his very first day of work.
I can't.
No, Victor.
I'm not situated here.
Victor, I want to chime in.
Let me just,
No, respectfully, I've spoken with the city. It was permitted. It was just erroneously.
The error was
Right.
ours.
So there's
okay,
no
erroneously permitted.
right. So there's
I
no
misspoke.
illegalities.
Okay, erroneously permitted.
Okay.
Okay. So citizens get concerned when they see concrete being poured, even though they've been told no permit will be issued.
Got it.
The original, no ramp has been authorized. The original configuration approved by the commission and in the concept plan, and I'll discuss it, which is part of the development agreement, shows a drop-off here, which would mean that 400 cars would have to go from here to here
Got it.
at peak hours, or 100 or 20 or 30, and either make a left-hand turn, this is our driveway, or make a U-turn and cross 2 active lanes of traffic. Here you see that the ramp that's been built is currently being used by cars every single day to park and blocking the access into the entrance to the Continuum. You also see a plaza configuration that has been built that includes waiting benches outside, which is not consistent with the original concept plan. So issue number 1 is how this ramp is going to operate. It should not be here. That puts it even closer to the intersection.
Got it.
It should be here, and we have concerns about the traffic circulation. Issue number 2, we want you also to know that directly opposite, and consistent with issue number 1, directly opposite this ramp, which is servicing a 400-seat destination restaurant.
I'm sorry, can you situate me just because I live in North Beach, I'm down there
South
often.
Point Drive,
South Point Drive,
and the driveway of Continuum, Ocean Drive.
and then that's
You got it.
Ocean
This
Drive.
is Ocean 1 that I'm showing you now, which is the related project which is currently being built by Plaza.
Got it.
The restaurant CIBO is here. This major destination restaurant, which is proposed for Ocean 1, is directly across the street. And there was a ramp operation here also proposed, which, as you see with this little X, we highlighted back in May, was of great concern to our residents. So our first issue has to do with asking you to make sure that you are very, very proactive on the ramp operation. As to the rooftop,
It's going to be
this
great.
is the amended and restated development agreement dated March 5th, 1999.
Got it.
As you heard your city attorney state, it is the opinion of the city attorney that there are certain vested rights under that agreement because a building permit was pulled by the developer prior to the enactment in 2009 of an ordinance which I sponsored, barring commercial rooftop operations south of 5th, an ordinance that was supported by the South of 5th community, advocated for years by Maurice Sunshine and Frank Del Vecchio, and I was able to sponsor it when I was on the city commission. This is the building permit plan and the DRB order that was approved, that was vested in. You will see that there is a configuration of the plaza and a requirement for certain planters which align with the appearance of the other side of the driveway in the DRB plan. They're saying they're vested in their rooftop operation because they pulled their permit under the 2007. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you are stuck with this, if you are grandfathered in the roof, then you are stuck with your plaza configuration and your proposed handicap ramp operation. At staff level, a very different plaza configuration was approved. The planters that were have been lowered in size for concerns that the developer privately expressed to staff, but we were not at the table. These planters were eliminated, obviously. A new configuration with stairs leading out was permitted. And most importantly, the design of the plaza, including these waiting benches, which will only add to congregation outside the building, By the way, this is the residential tower immediately across it. We have 1,000 bedrooms.
Is that where Crudo is? Bar Crudo and the bakery?
Bar Crudo's right here, correct, Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
Right here,
Okay.
right here.
Victor?
Bar Crudo would be right here. The Ocean one will be here. So what we have said in a creative way to the city is be on our side. If you are going to give them grandfathered rights in on rooftop operations, then hold their feet to the fire with respect to the configuration of the building permit that they approved and the concept plan which this city commission approved in the development agreement, any amendment to which requires city commission approval. So they may not have to go to a land use board, but there is an argument to be made that they have to come to the city commission to change the physical configuration of that plaza. In exchange for which, we would gladly give them their preferred plaza configuration as built and even negotiate with them with respect to their handicap ramp in exchange for some concessions on their rooftop operations.
Okay.
If you give us the leverage, we will use it in good faith. What are we asking with respect to rooftop operations? It's very hard to get a consensus among 1,000 people, of which I'm surprised how many took the time to come today. But, you know, we've asked Mr. Donato, could you agree to pull special events permits if you're going to have 5 a.m. so that there will be review instead of insisting on a matter of right? Could you agree to close at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 on Friday and Saturdays and at midnight on every other night of the week? If we could reach an agreement like that and put a restrictive covenant in the land, we'll work with you on your valet operation, and we will gladly give you your reconfigured plaza entrance.
Got it.
That is what we are asking for
Thank you,
today.
Victor. Hey, Victor, let me just get back to the 5 things. Number 1, valet parking, a parking study, right? Victor?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, off-duty police for traffic flow. Number 3, prohibit VIP parking,
Ramp parking.
right? Number 4, valet storage flow. You have concerns about that. We need to verify it. And number 5, verify capacity of valet storage lots. Those are the
Correct.
5 things. Okay.
On the valet.
But you want us to do these 5 things. Joe, are these
And the
5?
time during the week and weekends, I
Right.
think he mentioned.
And the, correct, the number of.
Can we do, Joe, first of all, Joe, thank you for all the great work
Yeah,
you've done.
exactly.
South the Fifth, because you've done unbelievable. You really have.
It's-
No, all of you have, and thank you, because you really have done amazing stuff, and we appreciate how far you've gotten it. Can we get these 5 things done?
Absolutely, and we are working
Okay.
on the 5 things.
Good.
We're also, and for the record.
Yep.
Mr. Haber's here, and we also are waiting on whether or not it would be okay to even consider a valet either drop-off or a pickup to address a lot of these concerns. If we were to drop the cars off on the other side of the driveway, we haven't heard back. Whatever their answer is, we will take that into
The
consideration.
residents, I put it to them, the majority view of the
You'll
residents is
speak with
no.
them, yeah. Right.
They would
Victor,
like-
first of all, let me say one thing.
Now we know.
I only can speak for myself, obviously, as the mayor, but I could tell you that behind you and the residents 100% and what you need to get done. I believe that quality of life for our residents is number 1, primo, most important thing. And I can understand your tremendous frustration. And these 5 things we got to move on. And I think that, with the rooftop, any way that we can figure out so that it's not a disruption to the residents, I believe that we want to get
We have the
done.
operator, I think we have the operator here.
Yeah, and I'd like one more
that's
person
what I
to
was
speak,
gonna ask.
because there is an even more aggressive point of view than that which
Yeah.
I have, and I would like
Right.
Well,
Mr.
if I may have
Haber.
an opportunity
Yeah.
to speak before,
Please.
please.
Oh, sure,
Please,
Nick,
please.
of course.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. It's a better opportunity than I've been provided before.
Your name,
because
please? Sorry,
My
your
name is Nick DiDonato, President and CEO of Liberty Entertainment Group, and we are going to be the operators of CIBO Wine Bar. My organization has over 1,600 employees. We have restaurants and operations in Toronto. We currently own in Miami the Coral Gables Country Club and the CIBO Wine Bar in Coral Gables. Over the past 2 years, we've come into this neighborhood and looked at a property which was provided to us by Mr. Eichner. When we looked at that property, the parameters were provided to us: the rooftop patio, the ability to have a full license till 5 a.m., the ability to have a license in valet. So we looked at the development agreement, which was agreed to, and we entered into a lease with Mr. Eichner based on those parameters. Although we looked at that and identified there's some of those things that we do not necessarily need and will work with the community. Over the past 2 years, I've been trying to work with the community, but this is the first time I've actually been able to sit in front of the residents here because none of them have seen me before. And the reason for that is because I've asked Mr. Diaz several times if I can make presentations to the condo association and the residents and address their concerns and have an open discussion, and I've never been provided that opportunity. Not once have I been provided that opportunity. When I did the Coral Gables Country Club, I was in the same situation. The residents at the country club or in the area, because the country club is a 45,000 square foot facility located in a residential community. And we as an organization understand the ramifications of a commercial operation in a residential community. And we have been the best organization in Toronto and in Miami to address those situations. Personally, I'm an engineer. I'm a transportation consultant.
I want to know how that mayor in Toronto handled this.
Well, if I may say,
Are you
I've been on the
Canadian?
Economic Advisory Committee for every Toronto mayor since June, and since 1996. So I sit on the Economic Advisory Committee for the City of Toronto. I currently sit on the TTC, the Toronto Transportation Committee, which is the third largest transportation committee in North America. And I'm sitting on there on that committee as a business person who understands the nuances between community and business, commercial and residential. And the city has always looked to me to address those situations and sit on their committees. At Coral Gables, I was afforded the opportunity to have many meetings with the residents. I hosted meetings at our facility. I was able to speak to the community. I was able to try to really, look at their concerns and address their concerns. 3 years later, the Coral Gables Country Club is one of the most prolific event spaces in the city. It's embraced by the community. The Liberty Cafe is a neighborhood hub, and we are really something that's identified as one of the successes in the city between commercial and public sector and private sector relationships. And we pride ourselves in having these open dialogues. I have not been provided the opportunity, after numerous requests, to address the community. So this is my first time, and I'd like to address that community. When we decide what property, on this property, what type of restaurant we are going to put in there, and we have many restaurants. We have nightclubs, we have spice route Asian restaurants, we have Italian restaurants. We chose CIBO specifically for the community. This is not a restaurant which is targeting the tourist market. We're here because we want people in this audience to be our customers, because we believe that what's happening south of 5th and in all of Miami Beach is that every restaurant that comes there is catering to everybody but the local community. The price points are astronomical. The drinks are expensive. It's not comfortable. Nobody comes to Miami Beach other than tourists. And we believe there's an opportunity to engage the local community, to engage the people at the Continuum, to provide them service and something they need. To the point where we also have created a market area where they can take our pastas, which are homemade, and our sauces home with them. This is completely designed for the community.
Right.
Now, in our meetings with Victor, the first couple of meetings, we were talking about the valet, and the valet originally was designed to be on the driveway, and they had a curb cut for handicap. Victor had asked us to concede and allow the valet to be moved to the north of the property. As a transportation expert, I've been in transportation for 25 years, and I've been running restaurants for 25 years, I consulted Victor and said, look, removing the curb cut from that area is only compounding your problems that you're worried about. I identified that without that curb cut, now you are restricted 2 lanes instead of 3. I cannot control people from dropping off their people at the front door. I personally don't have the ability or the authority to do so, and I don't think the city of Miami wants to have the police standing at my front door policing this. So I felt that three areas for a three-lane driveway would be much better than a two-lane driveway. I conceded and said, fine, Victor, where would you like the valet drop-off? He indicated to the north of our building. We conceded, we moved that. We met with him and talked about their concerns with respect to garbage removal, their concerns with respect to deliveries. And what we said to Victor and his association,
Sure.
what would you like us to do?
Mr. Denuzzo, I don't hate to interrupt, only because I know that in 15 minutes we're going under siege in this area. But let me just say one thing. First of all, I sympathize with you. First of all, I know you run a great operation.
Thank you.
It's a great business. I mean, it's really an incredible operation. You got a great reputation. And by the way, Victor is probably one of the most unreasonable human beings in the world.
Thank you.
But we love him. Okay?
And
so I do sympathize with you.
that
But we
is
love him.
my challenge.
Okay? Just so you know. Okay? So I get it.
If I was afforded the opportunity to
I
meet
totally
with-
get it. But let me ask you this. Is there any way, because you got a bunch of residents here, and I think we're all kind of having this conversation, is there any way here you could say, listen, you know, it's all about the rooftop. We'll close at this time. If we need to extend because we have a major event, we'll have a permit. Is there any way? Because you know what's happening? By the way, I understand. I get where you're coming from. And listen, this neighborhood, south of 5th, is just becoming the most incredible residential neighborhood in probably the whole state and probably the whole southeast. And, you know, the residents, as you've gotten to know, are a little bit active. And I think if there's any way we could just figure out a way that you say, listen, we get it, all right, we want to be a part of the community, you know.
We are interested in speaking to the community and the residents.
But
It's
they're
very
all here,
difficult.
they're all here. Can we,
Come on.
so how can we just figure this out?
The
now?
mayor's asking.
I'm not putting you on the seat, but I mean,
He's
Yes,
asking.
we are
can just
currently
figure out a
able
way
to have
we-
a 5 a.m. license.
What's that?
We are currently able to have a 5 a.m.
Right,
license.
but I guess what
I
the
am-
people are saying is they don't, you know, most of the residents don't want to have a situation, there's drinking and partying until 5 a.m. when
They're going
they
to call
bought
code
these
on, they're going to call
incredible
code on you
condos.
every day.
They got to,
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
And
it's gonna be
I understand that, and we don't want code to be
it's a
called.
war.
We're
It'll
not
be a
gonna-
war. It'll be a war.
We're
and
not
bad
going to be
blood.
running that kind
And by
of
the way,
operation.
you've been so great with them, and Victor acknowledges it, and it's so you got a great company. Can't we just figure out a way where you say, listen, we'll voluntarily do this, and we'll.
And it's not like you're giving up the right to do it
No,
forever.
no, you're
just
just
say that
saying,
we're
well,
voluntarily,
that-
we
you
have
voluntarily-
the right. Hold on. What he's saying is we have the right to do it till 5 a.m., but we are going to voluntarily, because we want to be part of the community, we're going to voluntarily close it at 1 and see how business goes. And if we think we really need to do it, then we'll come back and we'll tell you why we got to do it.
Commissioner Wolf,
Did you try that?
Yes, I did.
No. So will you
I
do
did
that?
offer that. I said voluntarily to Mr.
Whoa,
Diaz.
whoa,
to-
So wait, let him talk.
Wait. Mr.
What were you
Dennis,
saying?
Continue.
I
You did?
I spoke to Mr. Diaz and identified that we would voluntarily close at 2 a.m.
On the weekends.
Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, reserved 5 a.m.
Right.
or whenever.
What about, I mean.
Well, that's a start. I mean, that's a success to a point. For
I
gosh
am
sake,
happy to
you
be
guys should
voluntarily
What
It's
about-
better than
let me
5
ask you a
a.m.
question.
7 days a week.
During
listen,
the week,
get it-
hold on. During the week, midnight is like late enough.
Yeah.
Who's going out? I mean, you know, this is like a, you know,
Hold on.
you know?
Here's the point. Here's the point. You and I have never met. I've never spoken to anybody with your team. You've got a room full of very scared people. Okay, these people have spent a lot of money, and some of them spent it a long time ago to live in luxury high-rise, and they expect a certain quality of life, and they're scared. And you say 2 a.m., 2 a.m. turns into clean up till 3 a.m. and clanking plates and everything else. And listen, we're not going to see, we can't legislate this. If you want to be a part of the community, be a part of the community, and that's what we're asking. And everybody. This isn't about clapping. This is we don't. This is a new commission. We don't respond to the matching T-shirts. And this is something that it's like everybody, even you, John.
No, because you got an incredible
phone.
company. You know, just look at Sunset Harbor. We
sorry?
developed Sunset Harbor, that whole neighborhood. We have restaurants there. There's no way in the world we can't do a rooftop thing. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, we'd like to. I mean, it's not happening. There's no rooftop.
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, we probably
Unfortunately,
push for it.
when we entered into a lease, these are the parameters we entered into lease with.
I got a great idea. Renegotiate the lease.
But it doesn't require you to keep
Is
it
there a way to
open.
renegotiate the lease? I always believe, you can
I'm
always.
not sure Mr. Eichner would do that. I would love to, but to be honest with you, I'm sitting here
I know.
and in terms of Mr.
If you put Victor,
Grieco's-
if you stick Victor on him.
Yeah, in terms of Mr. Grieco's comments,
Good.
I am sitting here scared that, really, 2 years ago, if I had known this would happen, we're not an organization that wants to fight with the community. We would not have entered into this.
So how do
lease.
we do it voluntary, where you say, I'll try it at these times? If
I
for some reason our
I
business
am
is
willing to do
horrible-
voluntary. I've identified that to Mr.
But I
Diaz.
How about midnight? Will you try midnight for a little while
week.
and see how it goes?
During the
During the
It's
week.
too early
Just
because
during the week.
Midnight is too early because it.
During the
when
week.
I
Who
look
eats at a restaurant past midnight? It's a restaurant, it's not a
Yeah.
nightclub.
There are many restaurants in the neighborhood who are serving
Come
past
Oh, you
on,
do?
just do midnight during the week. Hey, by the way,
I
if you
don't.
don't, if it doesn't work, you come back and say, hey, we have all these people,
I am willing to, and here's what my discussion with Mr. Diaz was.
Yeah.
Allow us to close later, and if it doesn't work, we will close earlier.
So do midnight. If for some reason our business is not working, we come back to this.
If we're discussing a
Voluntary,
an issue
you're not
that
giving
might-
up a right. You're not giving up your right. That's
I
different.
understand, but we would like to start with a later opening, and if it becomes a problem for our neighborhood, then we will look at that and reduce our hours.
I think it's a problem.
Mr. Mayor, let me know when
Sure.
I can speak. I don't want to cut off
Okay.
Okay,
the
thank you.
restaurant operator.
What time does the restaurant close in Coral Gables? I'm just curious.
We have a license till 2 a.m., and we typically will close,
Oh.
we close at 11 o'clock on the weeknights.
Yeah.
12 o'clock is when we service to. Again, we have the right to stay open. We don't.
Well, it's just the rooftop we're talking. We're not talking about the restaurant.
Yeah, just the rooftop. Can you
Just the
close the
rooftop.
rooftop at midnight
Not the
on
rooftop.
Midnight would
on-
be very early during the
on
season.
weekdays? Just weeknights.
Just weekdays.
No.
No.
I am willing to work with the community.
What's
but
what? Let me
midnight
ask you a
is
question. How important is this to you? Is there any way you can get out of this lease and maybe somebody else can do this?
I don't think there's a way out of this lease.
What's that? Why don't you bring the owner? No, I don't. Listen, I'm sorry. I don't
We've
mean to be.
invested $2 million
No, I
into
know you
this
have.
lease.
Listen, I get it. I know you have. It's
a $2 million
By the
lease.
way, it's going to be a great restaurant.
Right.
It's going to be amazing.
And
we're going to
if
be
I-
going there. It's just
If
going to
I
be.
may, and I don't want to be argumentative.
I know.
This restaurant was chosen for this area because it's the right thing for the community.
No, not. But 5 a.m. The 2 a.m. The thing is when you say to the community, this is for the community,
I know,
that
we're just trying to-
it diverges. You're right on. Right until you get to the point where you say 2 a.m. and for the community on the roof, because
You know, it is-
that's the point where the community's not. They're not going to come there till 2 a.m. These folks, they
And
want
you
to
know what
be.
it is? What's going to happen is, and I know it. I can see where this is going. Okay, and it's not a good place. Okay, we're just trying to figure out a voluntary way so they're not looking for a little angle. The next thing you know, it doesn't happen, and it's litigation, and it's a whole mess. No one wants to go there. It doesn't make any sense. I would rather just have it. We resolve it. We figure out. So do you want to come back with a thought? I don't want to put you on the spot right now. If you want to come back with maybe a compromise, something, or
Okay.
please.
Can you try to think of something?
I'm happy to think about
Thank
it,
you,
and
Mr.
we
D'Annunzio.
always
Thank you
try to
very much.
cooperate. Thank you.
That's
Thank you
right.
for
You're
coming.
Canadian.
May I
Canadians are
ask
some of the
for
most
a-
agreeable, wonderful people.
Right.
So.
Excuse me, may I say something?
Commissioner Malikoff.
Could you please, Mr. Mayor, direct whoever is in charge of the South of Fifth Neighborhood Association, if it's the president, to make sure that the residents would be available to meet with Mr. DiDonato in a public place
I
that's
would
not
request-
Okay.
adversarial, so he can make a presentation,
I've
please.
sat here very quietly, and I'll let
Mr.
these
Posner?
gentlemen, the adjacent associations, Gerald Posner, Sofna, have been dealing with this directly. But there's a 1,500-member South of Fifth Neighborhood Association. It's not just the associations adjacent to CIBO that are concerned. It's
Yeah.
all of the neighborhood. You've never reached out once to us to ask for a single meeting. So you may have asked the adjacent condominiums for those meetings,
Right.
but never once have I been asked to have a meeting on behalf, and we've had 6
Okay.
separate restaurants that
All
have
right.
agreed voluntarily to roll back their rights for 5 a.m.
Now this is
coming
your
to the
chance.
Right.
Let's see, let's try to work together.
Well,
with
the one thing I know
community.
is this community loves meetings, so I'm sure they're going to go.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, of course.
My name is Jerry Blair. I'm president of Portofino Towers and the South Point Master Association. I live at 300 South Point Drive, apartment 3103. First of all, we have never been approached by the restaurant. We have over 1,000 units that abut the restaurant. They've knocked down our fence. We've asked them many times to replace it. They say they will. They've never kept their word. The back alley that they think they can use for food deliveries is not a city-owned street. It's owned by South Point Tower, Portofino Tower, and Continuum.
Got it.
It is not for a restaurant use and is not for the use of serving a restaurant or any other use, but to the residents. So I'm going to let David speak now.
Thank you. And Dave, before you speak, Mr. Attorney, can you take a look at some of the things Victor mentioned as far as the legal rights that we have to potentially force I guess, what Victor had mentioned, the development, originally how it had planned?
Yeah, Victor mentioned the plans approved by the city, which are separate from the development agreement. And the development agreement applies as well as those plans. So we need to discuss what the city can and cannot do.
So you'll take a good, deep, serious look.
I'll be happy to talk to Victor and
figure out
and see what rights we have and what rights we don't have.
Good. And if you need, that'd be great. And if you need potentially outside counsel to specialize, whatever you think. Great.
We want to solve the problem.
Yeah, we want to solve the problem.
I just have, he's just going to let me ask one
Sure,
quick
of
question.
course.
With respect to the permit that you said was filed in 2007, when did they start construction on the property?
Your name, please.
My name's Carlene Tiedemann. When did they begin? Okay, so did they renew, so in other words, their permit expired, they had to renew it, and then expired, they had to renew it again?
it was-
Because
The
if you
permit
do-
was never expired.
Pedro Martin.
It was active the whole time.
Because, but, no, a permit is, unless you start building on your projects and start getting your inspections, you have to renew your permit again and again with every city. And I called Miami Beach as well, and they said within approximately 6 months, if your permit is, if you're not calling for inspections, you haven't begun building, you have to refile for a permit. So yeah, they
Right.
might have kept it going, but that does not mean, if they filed for the permit in 2007 and started constructing and got their inspections and so forth, then they're under those guidelines.
Thank you.
But they are under the guidelines of 2009
We'll let the attorney
ordinance
look at-
with
thank you
respect
very
to the
much.
permit.
Dave,
David Haber, David B. Haber, PA. I represent
you got 3
Portofino,
minutes until we are under invasion with Homeland Security.
Portofino South Point Master, as well as Continuum South Tower. I'm not going to repeat what Mr. Diaz said, but I am going to discuss the more aggressive approach, and only if the developer...
So unlike you.
Yeah, I know. Only if the developer and the tenant, the lessee, are not interested in closing at 11 or 12 during the week, do I think the city and the residents should go this way. But quite frankly, the developer has violated the development agreement numerous times, and the city attorney and prior administrations were well aware of Mr. Eichner's company's violations of those agreements, including letting those columns sit for 3.5 years without doing anything to them, but somehow getting the city to allow them to keep that permit open without doing anything. In fact, we used to complain